Alright guys, so we have our chat window working as far as the messages. What we need to do now is add the functionality to be able to add users. Alright, so there's a few things we need to do. First of all, what I'm going to do is go ahead and hide the main wrapper. So I'm going to, let's see, I'm going to take this display none off of the names wrapper and I'm going to put it on the main wrapper. Okay, so that should make it so that we only see the create username form. Alright, now we need to grab onto the form, to this form, when we submit it. Alright, but before we do that, let's add the server code. So we're going to go into the on connection event here, and we're going to create a new event. Alright, so we'll say socket on, and this will be called new user. Alright, and then that's going to get a function, and this function will get data and also a callback. Okay, now in here we want to check if, actually we can do that after. I want to check the username to make sure that there's not another user with the same one, but we can do that after. So let's say socket dot username is going to be equal to data. Alright, actually, you know what, we'll do the check because that's basically what we're passing in for the callback. So let's, yeah, we'll say, hey guys, in the last, if username dot, actually we don't have the username yet. Oh, usernames, yeah, okay, so we need an array to hold all of the usernames that are connected. So we'll say usernames, and we're just going to set that to an empty array. Alright, obviously, if no one's connected, this is going to be empty. And then we're going to test for that. We're going to say if usernames dot index of data, which is going to be the username, is not equal to -1, then we're going to set the callback. We're going to set callback false. Alright, and then we'll say else callback true. Alright, so this here is just seeing if there is a username already taken that's the same as the one that's being passed in. Alright, and if it is, we're going to set callback to false, else callback to true, and we'll set socket dot username equal to data. Alright, and then what we need to do is add that username to the array, and we can do that with push. So we'll say usernames dot push, and then we'll just pass in socket dot username. Alright, and then finally we want to call a function called update usernames. Alright, and we can create that function right down here. Okay, so we'll just say function update usernames, or username, actually no, yeah, plural usernames. Alright, and to do that we'll just say IO dot sockets dot emit and we want to emit usernames. Okay. So now when we send the message here, we also want to attach the username. Okay, so after this message data, we're going to add user, and you want to set that to socket.username. Okay, it's as simple as that. So that looks good. Now what we want to do is we want to write an event handler for disconnecting. Alright, obviously when we disconnect we want the usernames to be gone. Okay, so if the person leaves, we don't want their username to stay there. Alright, so for a disconnect we're going to say socket.on disconnect. Okay, we get data, and we're going to say if not socket.username, then return. Alright, so right here we want to say usernames.splice. Okay, and we want to find usernames dot index of socket dot username. Alright, and then we just want to pass in 1, and then we want to call the update usernames function again. So update usernames. Okay, simple as that. Now on the client side, let's go down here. We're going to need a few more variables here. Okay, so first of all, we're going to need the username form. So we'll say variable username form is going to be equal to jQuery with the ID of username form. Alright, we're going to have a variable called users, and we'll set that to users. Let me just make sure that we have users up here. Yeah, right here. Okay, so that's just going to represent the array of users. And then we just want another one called username. Alright, and that's going to be set to ID username. So now we want to write a handler for the user form. So user form dot submit user form dot submit, and then we want a function. Okay, we'll pass that function an event, and we're going to say e dot prevent default, stop that from submitting, and then we'll say socket dot emit, and we're going to emit new user. Alright, and then the second, we're going to add another parameter here, which is going to be the username value. So we'll say username dot val. Alright, and then we'll have our function. Okay, and this function will have data. Okay, now we're going to test for the data, so we'll say if data. So if data, we're going to hide the username form first of all. So that is what is that? The ID names wrapper. Okay, we're going to say names wrapper dot hide, and then we need to show the main wrapper. So we'll say ID main wrapper dot show. Okay. Then we'll say else. We need a variable for the error. Okay, because if it's already taken, we want to show an error. So variable error is going to be set to error. Alright, and then down here, error.html. Okay, so we just wanted to say username is already taken. Alright, and then I just want to clear that value, so let's go right here and say username dot val is set to nothing. Okay. Alright, now we want the array of users to display. Close that. Okay, so let's see. New user. Okay, so update usernames is going to emit usernames. Alright, so let's go right below the username form, and we'll say socket, and this is going to be usernames. Okay, we're going to pass in the data, and let's set variable HTML. We'll set to nothing. Alright, and then we need a for loop, so we're going to say for, let's see, for I equals 0, and then we want to say as long as I is less than data dot length I plus plus, because that's going to increment it. Alright, and then what do we want to do? We want HTML, and we're going to say plus equals data, and we want to put in the I variable here, and then we'll just concatenate on a line break. Alright, and then down, you want to make sure you go outside of the for loop, and you want to say users dot HTML, and then you want to just pass in that HTML variable. Alright, so that should get us the array displayed, and then down here where we're saying the actual message, we want to make it so that it shows the user's name too. So we want to append, and we're going to use strong tags here. Alright, and in here, actually we need to concatenate that. Alright, and then in the strong tags, we need to also concatenate the data dot user. Alright, so that should show the username, and we'll just put some put a colon there, so it should say the username and then the message. Alright, so let's try this out. We may get some errors, but we'll try it. Okay, so let's go ahead and reload this. There's the form. Put in Brad, submit, and now you can see that Brad is over here. We'll say hello. Alright, so that's working. Now let's connect as someone else. Okay, so we'll connect as John. Okay, and you can see that John can see Brad, and Brad can see John. Okay, and we'll type something here. We'll say, hi Brad. pops up over here is John. Hi, Brad. And we'll say, hi, John. Alright, so that is working absolutely perfectly. I didn't expect that. I thought maybe we'd have to do some debugging. But yeah, that's it. That's our chat application. Oh, you know what? There's one more thing, and that is if we connect with a username that's already taken. We haven't actually tried that yet. So let's go ahead and do that. So we know that Brad is taken. So let's use that. Press submit. Alright, so it is working. You see that it didn't bring us to the chat, but it's not giving us a message. So something is, let's see, create username. Okay, so we didn't create the error div. Okay, we have it all working down here. We're setting the HTML to give us a message, but we just need that div. So let's go right under this create username, and we'll say div ID equals error. Okay, and then save that, and then we'll go back and refresh this. We'll try Brad, submit, and there you go. Username is already taken. If we do something else, let's say Steve, submit, and it brings us to the chat. Alright, so that works. So in the next video, we will get into something we haven't really done yet, and that is pushing the application to the internet. Obviously, you want your application to be accessible to other people, and there's a few different ways you can do it. We're going to use an application hosting provider called Heroku. Alright, so we will get into that next, and I will see you then.